A week later, John Lewis, former MP for West Bolton, happened to meet Keeler and one of the friends, Paul Mann, spelled with a double N, a one-time racing driver. She was in an edgy mood. She was worried about what might come out of the trial of Edgecombe, who had appeared in court for a preliminary hearing. She talked about her affairs with Perfumo and Ivanov, not realizing that Lewis had little liking for Ward. I'm sorry, a little out of breath, I have asthma. Anyway, hearing Ward's name in the breathless tale, Lewis was immediately suspicious. He managed to impress upon Keeler that she should contact a solicitor as soon as possible if her story was to be believed. She even possessed a very damaging letter. Lewis himself approached George Wigg. Meanwhile, Paul Mann and another friend had convinced Keeler that her story was worth money. It was sold to the Sunday Pictorial for £1,000, 200 in advance and 800 on publication, and a photocopy of Perfumer's letter of 9th of August 61 was lodged in the newspaper's safe. But the story was never to be published. On the same day, the Sunday Pictorial moved Christine to be safe from her flat at 63 Great Cumberland Place to an apartment in Park West, Edgware Road. By now, Stephen Ward was no longer in Wimpole Mews. He had found it impossible to keep up the rent, and have moved with Mandy Rice Davis to Bryanston Mews, empty since Rackman's death and the previous October. Now see, Stephen Ward, doctor, he has no money here because they went to see something to do with this West Indians, something to do with drugs, nothing to do with the West Indian, it's something to do with the habit. So this Stephen Ward didn't have any drugs, so and he overdosed as well. I don't know what the coincidence of that one is, but I think he's a bit of a druggie, you know what I mean, and he didn't got any money. And that's why I reckon he became a doctor. Anyway, the first the police heard of Keeler's story was on 26 January 63, when Detective Sergeant Burrows of Marylebone interviewed her in connection with Edgecombe's forthcoming trial. She made the following statement. I'm using a man's voice, obviously a woman. She said that Dr. Ward was a producer. Dr. Ward was a producer of Women for Gentlemen in high places, and was sexually perverted. That he had a country cottage at Cliveden. Now see, this woman's letter, sexually perverted, their accusations, even nowadays, when they accuse somebody, is false. Maybe this is not false, I'm not too sure. She said, wait a minute. She said that Dr. Ward was a procurer of women, sexually a cottager. Some of these women were taken to meet important men. The cottages on the estate of Lord Astor, that he had introduced her to Mr. John Perfumer, and that she had had an association with him, that Mr. Perfumer had written a number of letters to her on War Office notepaper, and that she was still in possession of one of these letters, which was being considered for publication in the Sunday Pictorial, to whom she had told her story for £1,000. She also said that on one occasion, when she was going to meet Mr. Perfumer, Ward had asked her to discover from him the date on which certain atomic secrets were to be handed to West Germany by the Americans, as a joke most probably, and that this was at a time of Cuban crisis. She also said that she had been introduced by Ward to the naval attaché of the Soviet embassy, and had met him on a number of occasions. On 5th of February, Ward himself saw the Marylebone police and gave them a statement. Dr. Ward said that if this matter, including the association between Mr. Perfumer and Miss Keeler, became public, it might very well bring down the government. Ward also said that he was a close friend of naval attaché of the Soviet embassy, and that he had mentioned the matter to the member of MI5. Now, MI5 intervened with Mr. Boardwright when Mr. Ward got acquainted with some woman. You understand me? So this, when he says that he had mentioned the matter to the MI5 just appeared. So he just said it when they appeared. So, it's just like saying something out of the ordinary, or I've said it to those guys. Anyway, Special Branch was alerted, and the commander saw MI5. On his return, he drew up a minute, minutes of a meeting. The fact, in his way, writes, The facts were already known to MI5 in broad outline. Their principal interest is, of course, the Soviet diplomat who suddenly and without warning left Britain on 28 January 1963, 2 days after Keeler was first interviewed by the police, whose identity is known to them and whose activities they are taking an interest. Right, from who suddenly and to by the police is in brackets. Officially, they are not concerned with perfumer aspect, brackets, authors italics, brackets, but they do know that perfumer is aware of the position and that such action as is possible is being taken by his solicitors with the newspaper. They believe it to be true that perfumer has told the Prime Minister of the matter, but they do not know that for certain. I think it is wise for us to stay out of this business, and MI5 agree. More on the case later. Thank you.